the Harveer Singh podcast.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. On this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about a very important topic. It's around kesh and Sikhi, but more of a perspective of Bibiyan. We've got some amazing guests on the show today who've volunteered their time and their knowledge and their experience to help enlighten all of the Sangat and all of the audience who will be listening to this. If we can start with introductions, please.
Okay, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I look 12, but I'm not. I'm a master's student studying clinical biochemistry and immunology. I did my bachelor's in Biomedical Science, so a very factual person.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Daljit Kaur. I work for STEM Learning, so I work with schools, helping with STEM, and I'm a former computer science teacher for about 15, 16 years.
Wow.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa,
Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
I'm Darshan Kaur. I'm Pharmacist, and I'm mother of two, Didar Singh here, and Saib Singh as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Benji, if we get right into the first question, it's around Bibiyan removing kesh. What's your opinion on whether it's okay or not for Bibiyan to remove kesh?
It's a very broad statement to be removing kesh. I think the first thing is to establish if they're baptized, because if they're baptized, then it's a very simple answer there.
Yeah, it's non-negotiable. It's a bujjagarat. Basically, if you remove your kesh, you do kesh sadi biadvi. In Khalsa Boli, like they say that kesh katal karno, so that means that you're literally killing your kesh if you remove it. So it's a direct connection between you and Guru Sahib. So if you remove your kesh, then how can you experience Guru Sahib?
Yeah, so it's our kesh Gur Ki Moria. It's the first defining appearance of a Sikh is by their kesh. So dada khullaya and kesh and they are intact. Obviously with kesh we want to show that respect. So once you're baptized, so we try to take care of our kesh as well as much as possible. So that goes hand in hand. If you're not baptized, we can't really comment on that one. Then it's your choice what you choose to do in the path you take.
Benji?
Yeah. It's really difficult, I think, for Bibiyan and for people who don't follow religion too much to know like what's right, whether you should do it or shouldn't do it. I think it's mostly about having that confidence in yourself and being confident what you look in your parents. If you have that, then that's basically everything really.
And when we look at baptized Sikhi, actually, it's not just cutting your kesh, it's everything from plucking your kesh to colouring your kesh as well. So Guru Sahib made us perfect, and we are keeping that perfect form and not trying to be superior by trying to correct and modify it.
Yeah, because if you're trying to obviously manipulate your appearance, you're basically saying that Guru Sahib has made a fault, like Guru Sahib has made a mistake, and obviously we know that Guru Sahib doesn't make any mistakes. So if we're trying to do that, then we're implying that.
Amazing. Can we go off script a bit? Can I ask you about have you all been brought up in Amritari families?
I have. Yes.
No. So
Do you want to ask that question, then we answer it, or should we just say it?
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so my parents weren't Amritari when we were younger. My dad used to cut his hair, had S.H.A.R.E. And my mom, obviously we didn't have meat or egg, but she didn't give us too much of a push and where we wanted to go in our Sikhi. I was quite fortunate that my mama was Amritari, so when I was a bit older, I was about 15, 16, that's when I started wearing the S.H.A.R.E and going to school with the S.H.A.R.E. And for me, that's where I had started a lot of problems at school, because I had bullying was an issue where people thought because I looked different, they used to say, "Oh, why you look different to us? Why are you wearing a KSP? Why do you have KS on your face?" So for me, that was a real struggle. But I think the main thing I told you before was just being confident in how you look and doing a dance. And as Benny said, a dance is such a massive thing. If you have that belief in what Guruji is telling you, and you do ask the Guruji to help you through it, then anything's possible.
And Benji, just to lean into that a bit more, what was the transition like for your family, like your mum and dad, for you to go from somebody who's just a normal person to someone who's religious?
To be honest, my mom found it quite difficult. She was like, why you, if it's like such a problem at school, you sure you're ready for it? Like, why don't you wait till you're a bit older? So because I started wearing a case in year 10, my mom was like, why can't you wait till after you finish school, and it's going to be hard for you and this and that. But I was adamant I wanted to do it. She started supporting me when she realised how much it meant to me that I wanted to do it. And then, yeah, she was there for me. But at the beginning, I think it was about putting those values into my mum as well, because she wasn't into it very, what's the word? Into her faith at that point. So she didn't really understand it. But once my mum started learning more about religion as well, and becoming more into Sikhi, then she had that respect for me. So she respected herself more, and she was there for me a lot. So yeah, it's important then.
And do you have any advice for someone who might be going through that same point in their life where they are at an age, 14, 15 perhaps, they want to get into Sikhi, they want to wear the star, they want to keep Sikhi Swaroop, but they maybe don't have their parents' support, or their parents might be saying, oh, wait till you're married, or wait till this. And do you have any words of wisdom for them?
So obviously the main thing I'd say is Ardas to Guruji, and also Sangat. So going to other Gursikhs, so other senior who might be going through it, who've been through it. I don't mind. People can reach out to me, no problem. And yeah, just having other people to be there for you is quite important, I think.
Amazing. And a question for all of you now. There is a common thread along these questions, which is around, what if you have a medical condition and you have gas because of a medical condition? So it's they term it unnatural, and then they wouldn't otherwise have gas. What is your opinion on that scenario? Like PCOS is the one that's most commonly cited.
Okay, so I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was about 14, 15. And the main reason was because of the gas on my hair. And I had tests done with doctors. And the main thing with PCOS is your hormone imbalance. So doctors will say that they want to help you with giving you medication to correct the hormone levels. So the testosterone levels are normally higher in PCOS. So it's about correcting those. But there is nothing to say that you can't carry on with the gas. You have to remove the gas. Gas is a wonderful thing, and it's nothing. What's the word? Health. The health isn't going to be affected by having gas on your face.
Like the issue is the testosterone, not the gas.
Yeah, exactly. So that issue can be helped with the medication, so they can change the levels of your hormones. But removing the gas is not going to help with the PCOS at all. It's just the way you're feeling about it, your confidence in keeping it.
Okay. And are there any options for, let's say somebody is really affecting their confidence, or they find like they don't want to go out or whatever because of it, or they want to get married and it's impacting them? Would you say similarly to the answer you gave earlier around, if you're Amritdhari, then the answer would probably be different to if you're non-Amritdhari, in terms of whether that's okay or not?
Yeah, so obviously for an Amritdhari, there's no question really. It's a no thing.
Yeah,
I know it's hard sometimes for people to understand that, but any kind of like change, so bleaching, plucking, anything to do with the gas, it's a no. Obviously, if you're not Amritdhari, then that's your own opinion, what's better for you. But I think it's just about trying to get the point across about being self-confident in what you look like and your appearance.
And if you're in a position where you feel like gas is kind of the main thing that's holding you back in terms of Sikhi wise, you're put off Sikhi because of the gas issue. Is there any words of wisdom that you have regarding how people can build their faith or get into a position where they feel confident or self-assured enough to be able to do that?
I think the first step is, understanding why you have gas. Because if you don't understand that, then of course you're going to cut it. It's like when parents tell their kids, oh, you got to keep gas, or you can't eat meat, you can't do this, can't do that, but they never justify why. They're going to end up doing the complete opposite. So if you understand why you have gas in the first place, it's really, it actually helps understand like that you have to keep it. And like, not even just in terms of Sikhi, but there's so much research out there that is telling you that gas, you're like meant to have it. It's there for a reason. Like before, ages ago, like decades ago, we used to think that there was something called junk DNA. How can DNA be junk? Like it literally is a blueprint of telling you like what you're supposed to be like. And now we're figuring out that, gas, it's not actually waste. It's not a waste product. And that's what we think it is. But there's so many benefits to gas and why we actually have it. Like, for example, there's like papers out there that saying that it's actually a better protectant against UV rays and skin cancer if you have gas compared to someone who doesn't have gas. They're having that UV rays like literally going straight onto the surface of your skin, and you're more susceptible to getting like skin cancers.
I think it's quite huge though.
Yeah.
That whole area of science and gas is phenomenal, and I think there needs to be a bit more education around that. I think Gillette, those big marketing companies, they've just had free reign to manipulate society into believing that gas is dirty, gas is unclean, and actually the science of everything shows that gas is the best thing for every human. The way it retains the energy of your body, the way we were discussing this earlier, Hannah. It's absolutely fascinating how marketing companies have manipulated us into traumatizing ourselves on a daily basis to something that they thought was beauty.
But it goes against science, because if you remove gas, then you're like removing your first layer of defense. Like it traps pathogens and you then make it into mucus and you cough that out. If you can't do that, then obviously you're going to get this bamaya. And when we were talking about the skin trauma, for example, waxing and like, shaving and stuff, you're then like making like, slits into your skin. Obviously you can't see them because it's so microscopic. But there are, these pores that are now exposed in your skin, and anything can get into there. And that's how you start getting like these different types of infections and skin conditions. But yeah, the reason why, I think primary reason why we remove our gas, regardless if you're Amritari or not, is because we don't understand why we have it. So we just think it's waste and we're just going to remove it.
And I think there's a power there as well. I think it's understanding why we have gas and actually what gas do for us, the spiritual power that they give us and the actual emotional intelligence that they give us. Because, Fiji, if you think about it, when you go outside or when you're afraid, your hair stands on end.
Stands up.
It's alive. It's your foot soldiers. It's your first level of defense for your body, is trying to protect you. It's
Even
trying to
when
protect
you're
your
cold,
eyes and everything else. Yeah.
Like when you're cold, you start shivering, right? And then your hairs stand on end. Your hairs start vibrating and try to, accumulate energy to make you warm. And like even when you're saying with your hairs, you have eyebrows here for a reason, so that sweat don't go into your eyes. Your eyelashes branch out so that it's like little dusters, so that dust don't go into your eyes. You have like, pubic hair so that it protects your, genitals and everything like that. If you look at the way gas is structured, even like your underarm hair, it goes up and then it goes down. Even like with, eyebrow hair, like I just said, they're growing to the side. They don't grow anywhere in any other direction. Even with like your dari, like it grows out. It doesn't grow in any other direction. Every gas grows in it's all unique. It grows in its own direction and it has its own purpose.
So it's almost like that awareness, I think. There's a lack of education. And because the marketing firms are there to sell their products, to sell their razor blades and their shaving creams, that's what's dominating what people see, that on their screens, on their devices, on the media. And they've got this really hammered in that this is beauty, this is clean, this is the way it should be. In actual Guru Sahib made everything perfect with logical, scientific backup to second that up.
Even when we're like kids, like when we have sex education at school, like they tell us that you have to remove it in certain areas because you're unclean. But then again, that goes against science, because the gas there is for a reason, to trap, bacteria and pathogens. So you're just exposing yourself to more issues, really, if you remove the gas.
That's really interesting. And I'm thinking of me and Darshan when we went to India quite a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and we'd go and stay at Gurdwara. The kind of consensus image of Bibians is very different to what it is in the West. And I feel like that image has morphed even more so over the years. And I can see it more blatantly with males, because if you look at when I was a kid, which is quite a long time ago, the people that used to idolize were people like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now it's like Justin Bieber, I think his name is, and people like that. So the trends have really shifted public opinion. Like in when I was young, if you wore tight jeans, that would be a no-no. But now it's, for men to do their eyebrows and things like that, it's becoming more of a commonplace. Whereas when I was an adolescent, that was unheard of. So it seems like society and conditioning and the media have a massive impact on what the acceptable image is.
So do we, VG. So we were talking about this. So when a child is born, we say they're beautiful, perfect, but when they hit about 4 years old, 5 years old, we as parents decide, actually, I think you need a fringe now. Oh, I think you need this now. We're telling our 4-year-olds what is beauty. Where we are doing that ourselves as a society. So us as being masiya, jachiya, whatever different roles we play, we are encouraging that mindset. This is beauty. So it's not, we're kind of victims of our own making almost as well. If we just accept Guru as made this child perfect, and then we keep everything intact, then we're showing that child that you are unique, just like you were when you're born, and you're beautiful. You're absolutely beautiful the way you are. But when we start trying to say, even weight, obviously, weight is a big issue. So, you need to lose weight. We are manipulating that image of happiness. If the child is happy, what does that actually look like? And unfortunately, society deems happy is a blue-eyed, blonde-eyed, perfect 10 or whatever. It's all that kind of tied in together. And we need to unpick that as a collective community.
And even like trends, they're always changing. Yeah. Every decade is going to be a new trend. Forget that every day there's a new trend. And the only thing that doesn't change, the only thing that's constant is Sikhi, Guru Sahib. If Guru Sahib knew that, gas wasn't that important, he would have said, don't keep it. But Guru Sahib has made gas so important that he said that it's a budget if you cut it. Mm-hmm. So there is obviously a massive reason as to why we keep it.
It's really interesting. And it brings to mind another bit of research that I was doing on nose rings. And I was trying to look at when those became a trend. And in India, with cattle, they put nose rings on them, don't they? So that the cattle don't run off. And they used to do that with slaves, with women slaves. They used to put nose rings on them and then tie them, have a rope running through the nose string so one of the women wouldn't run away. But now we, out of choice, do that.
It's just
made ourselves into slaves, that we pay people to make ourselves into slaves. Like we were talking about how back in the day, people that were slaves used to shave them so that they were easily identifiable as slaves.
Or they've done a crime.
Yeah, they've done a crime. Or even widows, like if there was a widow back in the day, they'd shave her head off to say that she's a widow and that, she wouldn't get married to anyone else. But now, like, we pay barbers and, pay to become a slave.
We are now becoming the ghulam, almost. So we're reversing it. We were sovereignty. We were royalty. We had crowns. We had luxury. We've given the jewels that Guru had given us. And now we're bringing ourselves to this level, which media now has dictated, is telling us that we've got to traumatize ourselves by waxing and plucking and cutting and weaving and threading to make ourselves fit in. But Guru Sahib always told us we're not born to fit in. We're born to fit out, stand out.
We're supposed to be Niara.
And one of the things you guys were saying earlier was around that we will never fit in. We may cut our hair, or we may bleach our skin, or we may do something else, have plastic surgery, but we're still, like, I was actually born in West London. I've grown up here my whole life, and I still have people shouting racial abuse sometimes. I think I probably paid for that kid to go to school in terms of tax, but I still won't be accepted as one of a British person because I look different. So I think that's important.
We need to just walk away from trying to fit in and stop that trying to be accepted. We are always been accepted, and it's the other people that need to be. And what you said earlier was actually quite interesting. So Inderpreet was saying when the British came into Punjab, they didn't adorn the kurta pajama or the salwar kameez. But when we came into England, we changed. They didn't change for us, and
we're changing for them.
Definitely. I think with language, with clothing, with appearance, all of these things are conformity. The next question was around marriage, and I think it goes to the greater question of around support. If someone's feeling not supported by a family member, I can imagine scenarios where if a baby is trying to keep a case and maybe a mother-in-law or somebody else, auntie or masi has made comments, and how should people navigate that kind of situation?
Sangat, isn't it?
Yeah, Sangat, it just comes back down to Sangat, really. Like if you're in Sangat where they promote that sort of behavior, or they think that if you're clean shaven that you're beautiful, then that's going to have an effect on your mind. You can't be a saint and do Sangat of alcoholics and not think that that's not going to have an effect on you. And the same goes for the reverse, that you can't be an alcoholic and then, think that you can have Sangat of like Gursikhs and not change. You will eventually change with that Sangat. So I think if you, like, for anyone that's going through that, you have to be very picky with your Sangat, be selective with your energy, and just go with those people that are encouraging your Sikhi and not bringing you away.
I think with everything in life, there's always going to be a challenge. Yeah. Life is a challenge, but Guru Sahib blesses you with the strength to ride that challenge as well. And the Sangat is the strength. So Sangat, it can be your husband, but sometimes that could be difficult as well. But you've got to look further afield. And Ardas, I can't underestimate the power of Ardas. Ardas tusi karo and do it from the heart, from ek man ek chetana, from mind, body and soul. Really articulate what it is you need, what kind of support you need. And Guru Sahib does send support, and we just need to recognize it and be open to it. But the support can be through Gurbani itself. So Gurbani can give you that asra to ride those arguments and come out the other side of it, because it is hard. Marriage is hard, and families, they're political, complicated, and there's not a one solution fits all. You've got to try different things. And when you're on the path of Sikhi, don't be alone. You've got to try to share that journey. Sometimes what you see is those individuals who are on the path of Sikhi, they kind of frown upon those who are not. And I think it'd be nicer if they brought them on the journey to educate them, like, this is what I do and this is why I'm doing this. And then, Gurbani does back you up on what you're trying to say, because the end result for everybody is the same. That journey at the end, we're all going to that same destination. But this is what you're doing to make that a little bit easier for yourself and on yourself. And then when you educate those, they can maybe not accept what you're necessarily saying, but they kind of see your perspective. How you articulate it is always a complicated way. And I think some people now have lost that pen and paper approach, because it's not always easy to communicate something verbally, because you might not have the strength and you might actually break down in tears and tears and tears, and it's hard to communicate it. There are other means of communication. And so don't underestimate just getting your pen and paper and writing a heartfelt note. And then Gurbani shows us how Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, when he was separated from Guru Sahib, when he was sent away, he writes those love letters. So if you write in a meaningful, loving way, your point of view, and sometimes that can be enough to help things alleviate the pressure. And if, for example, worst case scenario, if it's your mother-in-law that's causing you lots of stress, write to your father-in-law and explain it all, so that he can then work with the mother-in-law and try to alleviate some of that pressure. But we have to be innovative. And the solutions, they don't always come easy, just like the challenges aren't easy either. But with brosa and belief and faith, you can do this. Definitely, you can do this.
I think that's a beautifully articulated answer. And I think everyone's trying their best, be it somebody who's on Matari or not. And it's important to cut each other a bit of slack and give each other the benefit of the doubt, and live and let live. If somebody wants to, have practice the way that makes them happy, then shouldn't get in the way of that. In terms of girls having issues around school age with PE and swimming and that type of thing, can you share your experiences or any words of wisdom?
Flashbacks, we're getting flashbacks, PG. So I was very fortunate. I went to the inner city school. So there was the names were in those names. So I had a friend called Minda and Harvinder and Devinder, and I had Satbir, I think that was one. So there's within those grounds. So we did swimming together. So that was a non-issue. So for me, that was great. The issue for me came when I went to secondary school, and I really desperately wanted to do sailing and windsurfing, but I had to make sure I was a green badge or blue badge or something for swimming. And it was hard. It was hard at the time. I wore cycling shorts, and I remember I just wanted the world to eat me up because I felt so embarrassed of I hadn't just shown my ankles and up to my knees, but that was enough. It was mortifying. It was really, but the biggest goal was to get that badge, and that drove me to do it as quickly as I can. I think I only took about 2 weeks, two or three sessions, and I smashed it because I just didn't like the humiliation of getting into that kit, getting into the water and people seeing my bottom of my legs. But what about yourself?
So for me, it was like, when I think every girl's experienced it, when they're getting dressed in PE and that's when they just start comparing everyone's body. And yeah, that's when it just basically starts. And for me, it started waxing my legs, like when I experienced that. But then after that, it was just like instant regret. You physically feel that you've done something wrong, especially if you're trying to get close to.
But you did that as a result of intimidation, isn't it?
But it goes back to the fact that I felt like I had to compare myself to everyone, and that it feels wrong because like, why should you do that? You can't. Khalsa can't compare themselves to anyone else but Khalsa, and just. If you don't have that like love within yourself, that I love my gifts, and love for gifts comes from the fact that you have love for Guru Sahib. So if you have that, then like I firmly believe that nothing can touch you. But it just happened from there, and haven't cut my gifts since because it just feels so wrong. Like if you have to think of gifts like a wire, like a direct connection to Guru Sahib. If we cut that gifts, we can't experience Guru Sahib, and that's the length that we have to see gifts as, and not just that, but think about people. We have so many people in our history that we can look up to. We have like pointless celebrities that we think are heroes, but they're not. We were just talking about like Biochemistry Singh, passed away in like 2013, but for some people, Biochemistry Singh might be too far-fetched, like kind of hard to believe that his gifts turned into iron. But by Biochemistry Singh, like when the Muslims tried to cut his hair, when he was doing seva of, Godwa Sahib that was abandoned in Pakistan, when they tried to cut his hair, it literally turned into sardwood, turned into iron. This is a person that you can see a picture of him. It's a digital picture. It's a real life person in, the 21st century. This person's real. These things are an effect of us having a deep relationship with our gifts.
The thing is, did you do what I did and just run into the bathroom to get changed and stuff?
Yeah, I did that.
I think we all done that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that gets me, BG, is that we do that here. We're so conscious. But when you go to Darbar Sahib and you go to Dukh Panjani Bedi and you've got to go to do Ishnan, there's no dividers there. There's no separators there. There's not separate showers. You literally go in your kashera, you do your jubbi into the sarovar and you come out again. And that's just equally awkward, but you do it because you want to get that darshan of Amrit and have that shnan in the sarovar. So it's the mindset. So I think all of us have done the running into the washroom to get changed. But actually saying that, my daughter now does swimming, and the one-piece suits that are there available for kids now is just brilliant. So she's confident. She loves swimming. So I think times have changed a lot, but there is still that stigma of embarrassment. And if you're confident, my daughter Touchwood, she is quite confident. You can let the comments slide, but if you're not as confident, then you're probably going to do what we did and run to the toilet to get changed.
Benji, you're saying once you that time you waxed your legs, like how did you overcome those comments, or did you just ignore them after that, or did people stop?
To be honest, a lot of people that supported me weren't even up in it. I got a lot of hate from, not even hate, just a lot of like criticism from like Monia saying, well, we've cut our case, like you're so extreme, like does that not make us a Sikh? And the bottom line is basically, don't keep your case. There's only one type of Sikh, and that Sikh is someone that's given their head to Guru Sahib. There's no other type of Sikh. And once I started having conversations with them as to why we actually keep our case, what it actually means to be a Sikh, like what is the first step, that's when they started to realize, well, actually, what are we doing? So it's about educating them, not just being like, oh, let them say the comments or let them say whatever it is, and I'm just going to carry on my life. Use the opportunity to educate them. And with that, other people like in that year or in that school, they will start to understand like how important case actually is to like, you know, us as a Sikh. Because it's not just our religion, like we're talking about like other religions ages ago, Christianity, Hindus, Jewish people, they all have a relationship with gas.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I'm really interested in what you're saying, because my daughter is a lot younger than you guys, but she yesterday or the day before said, I don't want to wear a batka because I'm the only girl who's wearing one, and I just want to wear junni because I don't want to look weird. And she's very young, so she doesn't really have much of a conception of what it means, but maybe that's down to us in terms of our shortcomings as parents to educate her and to instill that kind of strength in her. Are there any resources or...
The Sangat, though, it's more about the Sangat that they keep, because my daughter, she did go to the prep school, and she was the only Sikh child there. And she had a top knot at the top, and because I didn't do any fight between the boys and the girls, and I said to her, I'm not going to make any difference. I want you to climb trees and be brave. I didn't believe in this pinky softy approach. I did. Yeah, she was very boisterous after having said that. She can throw a good punch and stuff, but she went through a phase of, can I have my hair down like Elsa after Frozen? She's obsessed with Frozen, and she knew her hair was very long. And so I struggled to think, how do I tackle this? Because my boys never went through it. And so it was Sangat. So what I organised, and I had to be proactive in doing this, I reached out to the other mums who had daughters, and I said, shall we do a mums and daughters event just to get together? And each one of the mums who were on the path of Sikhi had a podcast at the start. I asked them to tell me why they tie at the start. Why did they choose Sikhi? That was role modelling. So you had people who were dentists and NHS workers and speech therapists and stuff. Just by them speaking about why they chosen at the start, changed my daughter's thinking. And she gets love from her Sangat as well. So she acknowledged, actually, I understand why I'm wearing this, and why I don't want to necessarily have it as one day on, one day off. It's not like that. It's not something that we want to take lightly. It's respect for Guru Sahib and love for God is continuous. Like God loves us all the time. It's not today that I want to show love. It's not a costume, no. So that was what I did for my daughter. But it is Sangat. Sangat is, never underestimate the power of Sangat.
It's the same with my niece. So my niece is she's 5, and she's at a primary school where it's predominantly Gore. And she's had someone come up to her saying, oh, why are you wearing a gear? You look different, or what's on your head? And she's come home to her mum and said, like, I don't want to wear a gear anymore, I want my hair down, all that stuff. I think my sister's had like the challenge of how to bring that PR into her, and that confidence in herself. And I think the main way she's done that is by teaching her, like, why we're doing a gear, why we're wearing a gear, and then like, because she's also like Frozen mad. So she's seen some of the other BBR who've like gave like maybe a clip or hairband in there on there. So even though she's still wearing a gearski, she can still put her own touch to it. And with that, she loves it now. She wears it all the time. She wears a gearski, and then she might wear a hairband with it. But it's about having that confidence in themselves, and obviously loving how they look and how they are. So yeah.
I remember just talking about the Batka thing. I was in year 4 and I think it was actually in year 3. I said to my mom, I want to start wearing a Batka to school. And there's an Apni lollipop lady who used to cross us to go to the school. And by the time I crossed the road, she goes, Aage banne tere sar te, like, he's Apni. And that's it. Like, I just burst into tears, and I was like, Mom, I don't want to wear her anymore. But I'm just trying to say that it comes down to like your own confidence. And yeah, other people are going to say things, but that really doesn't matter if you really love your guru. And yeah, Sangat is really, really important. Yeah.
Excellent. The next question was around the scenario we mentioned earlier, where you might have parents who are matari and you've grown up kesh and wearing the star, and you're female and maybe your sisters are younger or older, and you're getting to the age where you want to fit in with your friends and you don't want to look different. So you have this conflict between your home life where your parents expect you to look a certain way and have a certain routine around nitnem, but you don't actually have any interest in doing it yourself, and you're just doing it to please them. And then at school you go and do something different, or you really want to. Can you give any advice to probably teenagers who are going through that type of thing?
It's really tricky. It's because there's lots of hormones going on, lots of peer pressure going on. Everything's been torn. So there's so much going on. And I've been to the teenage years with my boys, and I've seen it with them as well. They rebel, and it's almost like anything you say as a mum is going to be a no. Doesn't matter what that is, from house chores to going to, say, a Sikh program or something, or Godwara program. It's just defined. It's the thing that they've got to do. And this is just my perspective. I'm not saying I know the answer. I don't. This is what I had to do. And it was an emotional roller coaster for me as a mom. I'm going to be honest, because everything I did was wrong. Everything I said was wrong. And I was like, am I a bad mum? Am I that evil? Am I really that? I'm doing it for them. I'm doing everything for them. So what can I do? So this is, again, I'm going to come back to Sangat. So, but this one I had to manipulate again. So I had to look carefully at my child's behaviours, and I had to say, well, they're drawn to certain individuals. Which ones are they? Because you can't randomly go up to somebody and say, I need your help. I mean, even though you can in Sangat, but still you need a little bit of thought process going on. So I looked at the ones that they kind of had a bit banter with, and I said, well, they seem to respond to you a little bit. I've just noticed, and then the langar when you go to fatah and stuff. Could you just look out for them? It just make sure, you show them the love and maybe invite them to football or something, And they did, bless them. I can't thank the good Sikhs enough. And they're from all sorts of different places, from Derby to Birmingham to London and stuff. And they genuinely did that. And I think that kind of just a little bit of a pyar from that older good Sikh, younger than me, obviously much younger than me, was enough for them to keep that emotional roller coaster that they're going steady, because you're a big ship and you're trying to navigate a storm that's going on inside your body, and these Guru Sikhs, these Sangat, they're your anchors. They hold that boat a little bit steady, but it's not easy to find those Guru Sikhs. But again, looking at different avenues like sports and football and stuff like that. And these Guru Sikhs, they are not just sitting in the Gurdwara doing Naam Jap and listening to Kirtan, they actually do fun stuff like abseiling and climbing and stuff. So it kept that motivation going, because it's really easy to suddenly, because your emotions in your adolescence, to find Sikhi boring, hard work. Oh, this is too much effort, it's bare effort, and lose the why and lose that essence. But keeping them in the Sharan of Guru Sahib and in Sangat, and finding different avenues to find that Sangat, which might not be the Gurdwara, which might be let's go out, let's do go ape or something, can still keep that Sikhi foundation going strong, because these are role models for them. These people are at university, they're maybe at work, and so they've got another means to talk about. And I think that's what helped me in my journey. If I was just left in my own house, left with my kids, it's a struggle. It's really difficult, because they go through that phase of mom's wrong, we're right, she's just wrong, everything she says is just wrong, if that makes sense. It's tricky.
Yeah, security comes with PR as well. You can't just say okay, that's it, you have to follow it, because chances are they're not going to follow it if they don't have that PR. And also, if they understand why they keep certain rads, they will keep it. If you just tell them you've got to keep it, then they're not going to understand. So
that why is so important. That logical thinking is really important. This is why we're doing it. It's up to you if you want to join in. This is why we're doing this, and it's just backing that up. And instead of just saying chop karke back khala, why are you forcing this particular food and not giving them a choice? And give them a choice, and sometimes they might wander off a little bit and then come back. But it is 100% that way. And I think I learned that early on. Is you've got to be careful with the words that you choose and how you say it, because you've got to keep your Sikhi intact as well. You've got to keep that biyad, because they're the same little boy who was adorable when he was born and absolutely adored you. Now they're going through this really emotional phase. They're going to come out of it, which they do. So I think between the ages of 12 up until about 15 is a rough ride. And then they start acknowledging you about A-level time, but 17, 18, they'll turn around and say, yeah, Mom, I see you.
Thank you for that. Benji, having 2 kids, and I really want to gain from your insights around not losing your kids. Do you have any advice around that?
Not losing your kids?
Yeah, not losing them as in physically, like you take them somewhere and they get lost and you leave them in a supermarket, but more...
I think the biggest thing you've got to do is have things that you do together. I think that's the biggest thing. So just whilst my husband is brilliant, there's a Vajja in the lounge, there's a Vajja upstairs, there's tabla downstairs, there's a tabla upstairs, and they just jam. They jam together. And I've got a video of my little one who's 3 years old, and he's like, "Mani kana, mani kana, mani kana." He used to proper Punjabi then. And I goes, "We put the snad, ek shabad snad, ek line snad, ek kala." You have to really put it on video and really convince him. Then he goes, he just does a quick shabad on the bajja, and that's it. And then you show him so much love. Like, well done, thank you. But that continued. So that was at 3 years old. But it's like, come on, but let's just do the black again. Let's just sit down again. Finding time and listening, not listening and trying to do like 10 other things, but active listening where you've actually acknowledged what the child has said and then you've responded accordingly. So that's been really important. And we used to, and it's a bit sad and I feel really guilty for saying this, I used to get my kids when we used to go on holiday to write out a diary of what they've done. And it was mostly to practice their handwriting and their literacy skills at 8, 9 years old. But actually, it was really nice to read back what they wrote because it's a window into what's going on inside them. So it tells you what they've enjoyed. So they didn't like being in the car for so long, but they liked the water park. You find out what they like and you do more of what they like. It's really important when they're young to do more of what they like. But for us, we always had, and this is probably really bad again, we had a link because Sikhi is really important to us. Everything that they enjoyed, it came with a prerequisite. That's the word I'm looking for, Hannah. And it had to be, Shabad Pura Kalla, Pori da Part Pura Kalla, then we're going to go. I was going to take him anyway, 100%. I was going to take him to watch the Batman movie, whichever what it was they wanted to do. But I got them to just do a bit of progress in their Sikhi and the Gurbani Kant. There's always a little something that they had to do, whether it was Langar di Seva or go watch the Pandit with me in the Langar, whatever it was. But it was just something that I wanted them to tie together. That fun memory had some element of Sikhi with it as well. And I don't know if it's right to listen, but I'd look back on my own childhood with my dad. My dad made learning Sikhi fun. He made learning Gurbani fun. And I wanted to keep that fun aspect of growing your Sikhi as well. So
thank you.
Maybe there's something there, I don't know. I feel like I'm still learning. So from like people like my people going to here, like how to put that into your kids. It's so important. Like my little one now is 3.5, my oldest. And I've decided that it's very important for me to do what I want him to learn. So I want him to learn Vajja, but if I can't do it myself, then how is he going to learn it? So recently I've started learning myself. And then when I'm at home learning, he'll get his tabla, sit next to me and he wants to play with me. So that's really important to me because it shows that he's got that PR as well. And he can do it because he's watching me do it. So like, I think it's very important to focus on yourself first. So you work on your Sikhi for yourself and then the kids see that and they want to copy it. So we're doing part as together as a family. If we're sitting there doing the part together, he's enjoying it because he can see us enjoying it. So that's really important for me. Is that
that's so important.
Yeah.
So I went through a journey. I wanted to get my kids doing part because I started doing S.H.A.R.E part, but Dad encouraged me to do S.H.A.R.E part from the age of 11. And so the boys were like, "You don't do part. You don't do part." And they didn't see me doing it. I did S.H.A.R.E part, but they didn't see me doing it. So I had to actively do it in front of them. And that's the big thing because I don't do part in public. I always fear of making mistakes. So obviously I chose a some other part to do in front of them, but that they don't need to know that. But seeing and doing, that's what kids do. They see, they do. They see, they do. So and they can see you, but they probably won't say that if they're teenagers, they can see the PR that you're showing, but they won't. But it's just that period that's difficult. Fiji, you got this.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your time, input, sharing your experiences, just being so candid. Yeah, I think it's going to help a lot of people. So just want to take this opportunity to thank you guys. Where can people get in touch, or where can they find out more about the stuff that you guys are doing?
We're all share charity sevadars, and we're all linked with Khalsa Foundation. So there's Khalsa Foundation. You can put a request out for talkers and speakers. That's what we connected at Khalsa Family Retreat. So if there is somebody out there listening to this and they would love us to come and speak at their company, religious event that they've got, or they want us to come and talk at their university, me and Inderpreet have done that, or they want to come to schools, we do the school trips as well. So we're happy to support in any way. And honestly, any problem, big or small, if you share it, it definitely gets solved, because we've probably all been there. Somebody from the Sangha has probably been there and had something similar. Doesn't matter how big you think that issue is. So that's our binti, I think, Hannah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Khalsa.
Bye.